Very good. Oh, I'm just looking at the time now. We're actually past, we're a little bit past the hour, but still I see a question here that I am going to answer because it's an important one actually. It's a very practical, very relevant one to our very age itself. And this is from Sutta Veda Healing, and it's in two parts. Sri Acharyaji, will you speak to those people who may be new agey and not want to commit to practices because in the past they have been taken advantage of and abused in the name of being committed to a certain teacher, cults, religious organizations in general, etc. Thank you. Very good. Yes, this is something that I can and would like to address actually. And indeed, this is one of the pitfalls and frustrations of our very age itself, of the Kali Yuga, of the fact that we are living in an age of the cheaters and the cheated. It's a very sad thing. To me, personally, there is nothing sadder. Abuse itself is a horrible thing. It's a horrific thing. Whatever kind of abuse we're talking about, physical, sexual, emotional, etc., etc. But one of the worst kinds of abuses that there is indeed spiritual abuse. And that is when you have individuals who portray themselves as knowledgeable persons in spirituality, persons who have very deep, very high realizations, etc., but then who use that, who are, first of all, who are lying about that. They don't actually have knowledge. They're actually internally not very advanced beings at all, maybe the opposite. And they use that to abuse others. Yes, this is something that I've seen all my life. It's something that many people have seen. And indeed, sometimes this is why people will turn to a more new agey sort of approach. The thing that's interesting, of course, is that it is very specifically, especially within the new age milieu, that you find these people the most, actually. You find, let's say, religious cheaters everywhere. Oh, you find them in traditional religion. You'll find them in all the denominations. You'll find them in the so-called world religions, which is kind of a misnomer. I never use that term for reasons that we can talk about later. But you find abusers everywhere today. Indeed, you find abusers in politics. You find abusers, God knows, in business. You find abusers everywhere. But now getting back to religion and spirituality, of course, the place where they do congregate religiously more than any place is indeed within the New Age milieu, where it tends to even be the case that most New Age so-called spiritual teachers will have businesses, outright businesses. They don't even hide it. They'll have LLCs. They don't have nonprofits. They don't have religious organizations, spiritual organizations, actual charitable organizations, etc. They literally will have businesses established and incorporated. So it tends to be within New Age circles that you find the most teachers. So this is the first thing that I would say. As far as a person turning to New Age spirituality because they're trying to avoid cheaters, well, you've just thrown yourself into the cesspool of cheaters, because this is where indeed everything is set up within the New Age milieu in such a way that the cheaters can operate the best. That being the case, that is one reason to get away from New Age circles and to instead seek spirituality in more traditional forms. Seek spirituality indeed in ancient traditions, real ancient traditions, not going back 200 years, not a so-called lineage that goes back to the 19th century. No, meaning turn to the truly ancient religions. And I'll state this very generally. Yes, turn to Buddhism if you want to. Turn to Taoism. Turn absolutely to Vedic spirituality. But this is the first thing. Throw away anything modern, anything concocted, anything that came about because of a book that was written 20 years ago, even 50 years ago. But rather go to those traditions that have been here for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years. That's the first thing. The second thing is this. Because you keep stumbling upon what is called fool's gold. You know, there's a type of rock that you can find that looks just like real gold, but then you pick it up and it's very light. And if you bring it to some place in a very excited way where they know gold, and you say, look at this, I found gold, they'll just laugh at you. No, it looks like gold, but it's not. Well, you may have found fool's gold multiple times. Does that mean there is no real gold in the world? Of course not. That's not a logical conclusion. Indeed, the very reason why you got excited about the fool's gold is because you know that there is such a thing as real gold. And indeed, you simply mistake the two. So this is an unfortunate thing that happens with some people who have been cheated by fake spiritual teachers, is that they will then, in frustration, throw their hands up in the air and say, well, I got cheated 2, 3 times. That must mean that there are no legitimate spiritual teachers. That must mean there is no legitimate spiritual tradition, etc. There is no legitimate spiritual scripture. Oh, but I still want to, despite the fact of my hurt, I still want to practice some form of spirituality. Now let me just make things up as I go along, because at least that's safe. Seemingly safe in our own mind. Truthfully, it's not. Because now we'll stumble into other crevices and holes because we thought it was safe to just make it up as we go along. That's about as safe as doing surgery on yourself. Not safe at all, actually. But again, it's understandable how some people will become cynical. Well, in the same way that, oh, you found this fool's gold, looked like gold, but it's not, several times, oh, it would be foolish to say, well, then real gold doesn't exist. No, in the same way, there are legitimate spiritual teachers. We know that they have existed all throughout history. We know this. Otherwise, there would be no spirituality. If we were to throw out every single spiritual teacher for going back thousands of years, throw out Jesus, throw out the Buddha, throw out the rishis, throw them all out, we would not even have spirituality at all in existence today. No, there are legitimate spiritual teachers. We know they've been there in the past. They must be here today. See, let me explain this. For people who say, well, that's the past. Oh, but today is today. Well, where are the real spiritual teachers today? If it were not possible for a person to actually become liberated in 2022, if there, in other words, are no actual legitimate spiritual teachers, i.e., people who themselves have achieved truth in their lives, why are you even on the spiritual path? If then by default it's something that you cannot achieve. See, if you say there are no liberated beings today, there are no legitimate spiritual teachers, that means you can't become liberated either. Why are you even bothering that? No. There are legitimate spiritual teachers today. And the fact that you may have stumbled across some cheaters, oh, you have my deepest sympathy. I spend half my time speaking out against the cheaters. I know they're out there as much as anyone. And I know that they need to be stopped more than anyone, actually. But again, please don't allow the fact that you were cheated yourself to now be a reason to cheat yourself. See, you've been cheated. Now, if you throw your hands up in the air and say, well, I guess there are no legitimate spiritual teachers, now you're cheating yourself, because there are. There are. And how do you find these spiritual teachers? You have faith and you never give up. You have faith and you never give up. Again, I'll use this as a semi-example. You know, a gold prospector. Let's say a person is a gold prospector and they go up into some high mountains where it's been rumored that there's gold there. And they're very poor and they work very hard and they just want to find some gold so they don't have to live in poverty for the rest of their lives. And again, they find that fool's gold. No, looks like gold, but it's not. Oh, another one looks like gold, but it's not. What is that person to do? First of all, they are to have faith that they know gold does exist. People sell it every day. People find it. There is gold. And B, I will never find it if I give up. That's guaranteed. That's guaranteed. So what is that person looking for the gold? What do? They continue and they continue and they continue. And eventually they'll find that gold. In the same way, we as spiritual people, we may have been cheated before. We may have come across individuals who pose themselves as these great spiritual, wise individuals who are going to guide us in every aspect of our life, and they were just absolute rancid liars. We have faith that we know what we're looking for. We're looking for the real. And we also have faith that God will reciprocate that faith. That when God sees that we have that faith, what is that saying? When you are ready, the Guru will come. The Guru will be revealed to you when you are ready. How are you ready? You don't give up. You show God that you have that faith, and God then reciprocates. This is the nature of the grace of God. People talk about this all the time. Oh, grace of God, grace, grace. This is what the grace of God means, is that we, first of all, we don't give up on God. We don't give up on our search. Doesn't matter if we've been cheated. Doesn't matter if, we tried this technique only to discover it was made up by some idiot 20 years ago. It's not something based in reality, not something based on an actual tradition. All right, well, we keep looking, and you keep looking, and you look with sincerity, and you look with faith, and you look with devotion, because you know what you want. What do you want? What do you want? That's the other thing. If you truly want the highest, and you yourself don't want to play games, you don't want to just have, mystical experiences, little natural spiritual highs. No, not childish spirituality. If you want to know the highest, that which is the source of all reality, and if you have that faith and you have that determination and you have devotion toward that, even if as of right now you haven't quite found a legitimate teacher to fully reveal this to you, still you have that faith that that's what you want. You want God. God will see this, and He will reciprocate. And that is grace. And a true teacher, a true spiritual teacher who's not going to lie to you, who's not going to cheat you, who's not after your money, that person will be revealed to you. Now this is the next thing. When that person is revealed to you, will you be ready?